What's up, everybody? Welcome to IGN Game Scoop. I'm your host, Damon Hatfield. I'm joined today by Greg Miller, Justin Davis, and Colin Moriarty.
Yeah.
We've got a very special Game Scoop plan for you today. This is the big RPG preview. We're going to be going down 30 RPGs, 30 upcoming RPGs.
That's a lot of RPGs.
Supposed to come out this year.
Okay.
Of course, you know, some of those will slip. But as of now, the company line is that these games are supposed to come out this year, even though about half of them don't have release dates yet.
I thought this was the Flappy Bird spoiler cast.
What happens when you get to the end? When you go up one of the tubes?
That's after this.
Just as an aside, if I hear about this game one more time, I'm going to lose it. I'm actually going to lose it.
I know a lot of people in this office are really sick of hearing about
All I want to say is that Flappy Birds is the Mario Brothers of my generation, so you have to get out of the way.
I've been saying that for years.
I thought Ghost House was the Mario Brothers of your generation.
The jam. Oh, Mick.
30 RPGs that are coming up. We said about half of them don't have release dates yet. Some of the biggest ones, some of the most anticipated RPGs out there, like The Witcher 3, Dragon Age, Inquisition, supposed to be out this year but don't have release dates yet. But let's actually start with the games. There's about 14 or so that do have release dates and are coming up in the next few months, all the way through May. We don't have any release dates past May 14th, mid-May, and then right after that, shortly following that will be E3, right? So we'll have announcements then, release dates will be announced.
Do you think it's something like the Mayan calendar, where it ends in May because that's the
RPG calendar?
I think it is something like the Mayan calendar.
Thank you. Greg's just saying what we're all thinking.
I'm just preparing everybody.
Is there a reason? Do we want to get into?
Yeah, that starts us off. Today, this episode's going up on February 7th, which is the day Bravely Default is out on the 3DS.
In the United States.
Yeah, and we're actually giving away a 3DS XL today on the show. Someone watching this is going to win this.
Oh my gosh.
And it comes with a copy of Bravely Default.
Whoa.
Bravely Default 2.
Can it be me?
It cannot be you.
Oh.
No.
It's not you.
The way you win this is comment in the comment section under this video. Just tell us what your favorite RPG of all time is and why. We will wait in there.
And that's where you insert Ghost House.
Yeah.
And whoever picks the correct answer will win the 3DS.
Whoever's favorite game is our favorite game.
You say Suikoden, you win. No, that's not actually true. Say whatever you want.
Bravely Default out on 3DS, one of the first big RPGs of the year. The consensus, IGN gave it an 8.6. Good reviews from the press all around. The consensus seems to be, JRPGs can get a bad rap for being traditional and sort of stuck in the past, but everyone that plays this seems to be, I think this is an example of what's good about JRPGs.
It's pretty for sure.
It's absolutely gorgeous. I love the game style.
There is some cosmetic changes from the Japanese version.
A little bit of controversy surrounding this one, which hopefully doesn't overshadow, the quality of the gameplay. But they did censor it coming out in the United States. They put a little bit more clothes on the character.
Lightly censored.
Censored.
They just put, like you say, more clothes on a few of the characters.
Sure.
And they changed the age.
And they aged them up.
Aged them up to make it make more sense for American audiences.
Yeah, I can't say I agree that it looks beautiful. Actually, I think it actually looks aged to me. But
you're used to the OLED.
Oh, the OLED.
Yeah.
Oh, that beautiful.
The Vita.
But I am super excited about this game. I'm really excited to actually play it because this is a Final Fantasy game.
Yep.
And that without being called Final Fantasy, because only mediocre or bad games can be called Final Fantasy today. So they took the formula that made the great Final Fantasy games and they made Bravely Default. And I'm super excited about this game because I do think it is a return to form with classes and a deep system of side quests and exploration and stuff like that. I'm super stoked to play it.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, it seems like one of those games where I don't have a tremendous amount of time to play, traditional old school RPGs, except for this is the time of year. Like, it's slower. We had Fire Emblem come out last year at this time, put a lot of time into the 3DS on that. So it's like, I'm totally looking forward to sort of sinking my teeth into something a little bit slower paced and old school.
I went to download it.
Yeah.
And then I didn't have enough blocks on my SD card.
You got to get more blocks.
Went and played Mario Kart instead.
Yeah.
I got close, though.
It was developed by Silicon Studio. The guys made 3D Dot Heroes.
Yeah, excellent game.
Yeah. Really cool game.
There's every reason to be excited about this game, I think. And, like Justin brought up, Fire Emblem, which was a really cool game on 3DS that people spent a lot of time with. It seems like this is going to be another meaty sort of game for you to sink your teeth into, probably get good bang for your buck.
For sure.
Yeah.
That old school Final Fantasy comparison is spot on, too. It seems like they definitely want this to be a franchise that will go on and will get sequels and sort of have that formula grow in the way that old school Final Fantasies did.
Then, speaking of Final Fantasy, next week we get Lightning Returns Final Fantasy XIII. That review is going up on Monday.
Good.
Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me 13 times.
Can't get excited about this game, but
But Lightning's back, Colin.
Thank God. What I'm really confused about with Final Fantasy 13 and their specific arc with 13 is there's a few. Actually, there's like a million things I'm confused about, but I'm just confused about why they keep going back to this character, why they keep sequelizing this game, and why it comes at the sake of going back and maybe revisiting some other games that in Final Fantasy lore and canon that they could go back and spruce up or sequelize.
Sure.
And it frustrates me to no end, actually.
But Colin, how excited do you get at the Tomb Raider armor?
That may all be true, but I know you're excited about that Tomb Raider.
Yeah, well, that was really the game changer for me.
I think it's a paid costume.
I went and pre-ordered it. I haven't played 13.3. I don't know if it's going to be any good or bad. I just don't understand the approach with this game, and they keep selling worse actually too. Lightning Returns was actually outsold in Japan by Final Fantasy X-10-2 HD on Vita and PS3. So it's I think a good sign maybe to Square Enix that maybe you got to focus on some of these other classics or go back to your roots like you're doing with Bravely Default.
Well, it is supposed to conclude the Final Fantasy 13 storyline, so maybe we can put that to rest. There are more Final Fantasies coming up, but the next one coming up chronologically on February 25th is Tales of Symphonia Chronicles for the PS3. Lots of PS3 RPGs still coming out.
Yeah, PS3 is a huge JRPG machine. PlayStation generally is just getting a lot of exclusive RPGs, but and that's really what's going to keep PS3 going for the next 12 to 18 months, I think. Symphonia came out on GameCube in 2004 and was actually the highest selling Tales game until Tales of Xillia came out.
It was the first Tales game?
No,
Am I crazy about that?
The fifth, I think.
I think Tales have been going on for a while.
Fantasia and
we didn't want to break it to you. You've been in a coma.
Symphonia was the first one
Symphonia
I played for some reason.
Destiny and
So this is an HD remaster
of the GameCube one plus the Wii era. I think 2008 Dawn of the New World sequel that I never played. But Symphonia is well remembered and for good reason. It's a really good game.
Yeah, that might be one of the last JRPGs that I actually like. I play a lot of RPGs, but mainly Western ones, and it's the last JRPG that I really remember like loving wholeheartedly and really like losing myself in. Yeah, I would totally be jazzed to play an HD remake.
Well, then on March 4th, the very, very long-awaited South Park: The Stick of Truth finally arrives. I know people are really excited about that one. Among IGN readers, it's one of the most anticipated RPGs.
How do you think it's going to shake down, Damon?
Everything we're hearing
in development forever,
but we're hearing people who have played it. We're hearing good things.
Okay,
Obsidian made it. I mean, they have a good track record. They're a good studio.
Those guys.
It's ridiculous that Obsidian made this game in a good way. Like, it's unbelievable. Like, some people give their games a hard time for being buggy and stuff like that and having technical issues, but no one faults their ability to design an RPG and write an incredible RPG. And like the deep involvement of Trey and Matt. I mean, I absolutely expect
really
this
have
game.
Been involved every step of the way.
It looks like a labor of love. I can't believe how much it looks like an episode of the TV show. Like, you really do play, like, delivers on that hype of, like, it's like playing the show. And usually that's some weird, like, marketing speak, but, like...
I mean, they wrote it, and that's one of the reasons it took so long to get out, is that they poured over the scripts and did so much.
Plus with THQ, all the, the trouble that THQ went through.
And it feels a lot like, we're getting a map of South Park for the first time. The game has a map. You can walk around from place to place to place. So that means they actually had to map out where things are in relation to each other for the first time ever in the history of that show. And so that level of detail and that level of love that's put into it definitely has me hyped. I mean, the game's one Achilles heel could be like the combat, like the actual moment-to-moment gameplay combat might be a little weird or a little weak. That part I'm not so sure about, but everything else I expect.
What do you think about length? How long do you think it's going to be? And could that be an Achilles heel? That's something I think a lot about when you look at it and you see, and like, okay, we have it, people have played it, and they played it in doses, and like I did the panel, and like there's been videos out, but how long is this game going to be in the end, especially when you consider the wait for it?
Yeah, that's a good question, too.
Yeah.
A couple days later, on March 6th, another JRPG coming to PS3, Arno Surge. You've been following this one?
No.
It's a prequel to the Artonelico.
Oh, okay. So it's a Gust game?
Yes, it is Gust.
Yeah, so that should be... Gust is a good studio. They're a real steady studio.
Yeah.
So I didn't know they were still going back to Artonelico anymore. There's a few Artonelico games on PS3, I think, and so we'll see. I mean, I think this will cater to the very hardcore niche that buys all of Gust games anyway.
Yeah. It's really going to take a chunk out of South Park sales.
You think so? Well, I mean, just a few days after that, another game from Gust coming to PS3, Atelier, Escha, and... Logi? Yeah, Logi, Alchemist of the Dusk Sky.
Yeah, so this is the Atelier is like their big, like Gust's big series right now. And that series is actually selling well too because I'm sorry.
The 15th game in the official Atelier series.
Yeah, that's a long running series. That series sells. keep bringing those games over. Like every time they bring one over, I'm like, this has to be the last one, right? And they keep porting them, so they're selling, and then they keep bringing them to Vita too, and they sell there. So there is like a, it's what I always say about NIS games specifically, and there's probably a few of them on your list as well. Is like there's a group of 50 or 100,000 people that will buy every one of these games. So if you're bringing them over, then there's good cause for you to do that.
Also on March 11th is Dark Souls 2. And that was one we weren't sure if it should be considered on the list of RPGs, but it feels more like an RPG than an action game to us, I think.
There was some debate about what counts as an action game, what counts as an RPG. Those lines are more blurred than ever. Even some of the games we're going to get to later are very action-oriented.
But Dark Souls 2, I know, is one of the most anticipated games among the IGN audience.
It's going to eat Logi's face. Dark Souls 2 is going to eat Logi's face.
Greg Miller.
Winner, Dark Souls 2. March 18th is the Final Fantasy X and X-2 HD remaster.
Yeah, that's going to be big. I mean, so that sold like crazy in Japan. And I'm not so sure how well it's going to do here, but I think that people are really excited and stoked about it. I think it'll be good for Vita specifically.
Yeah, PS3 and Vita, right?
Yep.
So do people really, and my impression could be way off base, and I could be a little biased because I really, really loved Final Fantasy IX, but my impression was that 10 was the one that sort of started the core Final Fantasy games down this sort of weird path of like, I know that one sold like crazy, but I got the impression that that's what started these games, decline in popularity.
I don't think so. I mean, I think these two in particular are really beloved.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree in the sense
Maybe
that
12, like.
Yeah, 12. Well, 12 was like a whole different beast. I agree that 10 was the downfall for the series with people that grew up with Final Fantasy.
There's that, yeah.
And like 10 is the first Final Fantasy game that I bought, and played, and I think I played all of them up to that point except for 3, which wasn't out in the States yet, that I didn't beat. I was like, I can't play this game. I'm like, this game's actually not what I'm looking for. I'm not going to say it's bad. It's just after 9, which was such an incredible return to form, especially when people were complaining about 8, and they made 9, which was a reaction to the fan feedback. They make 10, and that was very confusing. But I think we weren't writing a lot about 10.2. We didn't have a lot of access to the game, and I had been talking to Square, and I got us copies of the game. We've had it for a while now. And I wanted to see if it would resonate. I believed that people wanted to read and about this game and watch videos about this game. We were right. The numbers are really big on this game. So there's definitely interest on IGN for this game. Now, whether that translates into sales or not remains to be seen. But I'm confident, that we might see a mirror of sales that we saw in Japan, which is to say that Final Fantasy X 10.2 is going to outsell Final Fantasy 13.
I mean, remember when they announced this? This is one of those games that lit up on Twitter, like, oh, that's what I'll buy a Vita for. Oh, I can't wait for this, that, and the other. And then Beyond would get questions about it all the time. And so, it's that interest is there, but they're really going to go out and buy stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we have to remember that they stealth announced that game in Japan at a Vita conference and then never talked about it again for like 18 months. So there was a lot of concern about if it was ever going to come out or if it was any good. And got good reviews in Japan, but who knows? We'll see.
Then April 4th is The Elder Scrolls Online.
Yeah.
A game I'm very, very interested to see how it is received.
On PC.
Yeah, the PC version comes first. But the PS4, Xbox One version is supposed to come, I think, this summer. So not too far off, but we'll see.
Still not April.
Yeah.
Which is some BS.
It is.
Because Justin and I are very excited for this game.
Yeah, I know. We keep talking about this. We seem to talk about this every episode, but I'm just fascinated by the subscription model that they're going for.
Sometimes I feel like Greg and I are the only two people
We're the only ones
fighting against the world.
The only sane ones out here, I like to think. But I'm stoked. I can't wait.
Yeah.
We are gonna wait though, right?
Are you gonna play it on PC or are you gonna wait for PS4?
I think the fact that my PC probably couldn't run it at top specs, and I want trophies, will ensure that I wait till PS4. Are you gonna wait till PS4?
I want to play it on PS4, yeah, mainly because I feel like that would be a fun game to stream.
Are we gonna be gameplay buddies and play the whole time?
Okay, yeah.
Colin,
handshake. There it is.
You liked Skyrim, right?
It was okay. Yeah, it was good. I didn't get all the way through it because the PS3 version was so buggy.
I forgot about that.
But I think that specifically with having to pay the game and then pay the subscription and all these things, I think if anyone can possibly get away with it, it's actually them because of the cachet that name has. So. Like Elder Scrolls is a big name. It's not like it didn't really work for it didn't happen with DC Universe, but you had to buy the game and it
worked fine for DC. I mean, they went free to play eventually, sure, but remember when they sold out of copies? That was a game you could not get in stores anymore. They had to go and reprint discs really quickly. People were accepting of it because you got that month free, and I think that's always the big breakdown we talk about, right? If you're a console player and you're going to get a month free of Elder Scrolls Online. What's to lose, really? You're buying, how long do you usually play these games? And especially what we're talking about, you're saying, that they can get away with it because their name is Elder Scrolls, I think means a lot. We shoot those fancy conversations about Sony tech or whatever, and one of the guys who does, I don't even know, mics or cameras, something over there, he's not a hardcore gamer, but every time I'm there, he asks me about this game. Like, he knows this game. He loves Skyrim. He's still playing Skyrim. He wants to know more about this game.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm really on the fence. I'm not on the fence about whether I want to play it or not. I know I do. I'm on the fence about, the analyst in me of whether this game's going to do well or not. I feel like that Skyrim comparison harms the game. I don't think it helps it. I think compared to Skyrim, it's not going to feel very fun. It's an MMO.
Yeah.
Like, if you're an MMO gamer and you're looking for a new traditional MMO, then yeah, I think this game might be super hot, super attractive. If you're a Skyrim gamer looking for the next Skyrim,
Sure.
then I feel like it's just going to be a million other players running around stealing the guys you want to kill. You're going to be mad. You're not going to understand what you're paying the subscription fee for. I'm assuming that it's got a lot of sort of traditional MMO kill quests, and you're not going to understand why you're going and doing that stuff. So that's what I'm on the fence about, whether this game will be a success or not.
Colin, on April 14th, the PlayStation 4 version of Final Fantasy XIV comes out.
Yeah.
See why they picked that date.
Yeah. Yes. I think that's gonna be big for PS4.
Apparently, you can take baths.
That's great. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. I think this is going to be good. I'm really happy for Square that they found success with Final Fantasy XIV.
Finally.
Final Fantasy XIV's failure, I think, was somewhat predictable when it first came out. I think that it seemed kind of, I don't want to say rushed, but it didn't seem timely in that environment where and I'm not an MMO player, but you see other MMOs come out and they seem huge and they actually end up failing. And so it didn't seem like it was really going to work, especially because Final Fantasy XI was actually so big and people would still prefer to play that, just like Phantasy Star Online existed forever.
Yeah, EverQuest and EverQuest 2.
Yeah, exactly. I lived with a guy that played EverQuest 2 like constantly, and that was only a few years ago. So it's I'm happy for them because they needed that financial boon to help them offset some of these other costs for games that are not selling. And so PS4 I think is a good home for it, and I think it's going to do well there.
I think it's going to do great. I played that game on PC. It feels well equipped on consoles. I played it for a month and then moved on, but I did love that month, and would have been willing to play more, but just got busy.
Sure.
That game's fantastic. I applaud Square Enix for doing the right thing, and I cannot imagine the cost to unlaunch the game, staff up the development team, take years to rebuild it, relaunch it, and just not give up. And then do it right, and the game comes out, and it's fantastic. That's unprecedented. I've never really heard of anybody doing something like that before. And I feel like that game's going to do really well. The post-launch support has been really solid. They're adding stuff at a regular clip, adding bosses, adding things for the max level players to do so they stay subscribed. That's a subscription MMO that, by all accounts, seems to be doing well. So
now Bethesda confirmed that Elder Scrolls Online on PS4 will not require PlayStation Plus to play. Have you heard about Final Fantasy XIV?
Oh, they have announced, but I don't remember what they said.
No, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the deal is. It's so nebulous right now too because there's just no games like PlayStation Plus acts a lot like Xbox Live Gold, I guess, does now. But there seems to be a bunch of ways out of that with other games, and so I don't know. I kind of assume that you're going to see, especially with first party games, they're just going to be like, you don't need it.
Yeah,
But
I don't think you're going to need it for this. It wouldn't make any sense
so.
because again, now we have two cases, right? DC Universe Online and Elder Scrolls. We charge you subscription. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
I do think, going back to that Elder Scrolls point, as we move on for these MMOs, a lot of MMOs launch and they're a lot of fun and people love them, and then it seems like no one understands where the player base goes. They fall off, they stop playing, and why'd that happen? Our game's so fun. You didn't have end game content.
Sure.
To me, I'm not a game designer. It's easy for me to sit here on this couch and tell you what you're doing wrong, but it really seems obvious to me. Have lots of content for your players to chew through once they reach that level cap. And if you do that, people stick around and keep subscribing. And if you don't have anything for your players to do, they'll fall off. And that's something that Final Fantasy XIV, they have room to improve, but they've done a pretty decent job of that so far. And Elder Scrolls, that could be what make or breaks that game as a subscription MMO.
On
April 15th, Conception 2 comes to Vita and 3DS.
Yeah, Conception 2. So this was a surprise to get this game over here, and it's an Atlas game. We didn't get the first Conception, so there's not going to be any context for it. But this is a strange kind of game where you are synthesizing and having babies with
kids.
Yeah, with
and then they fight for you, right?
Yeah,
it's that kind of conception.
Yeah, that's exactly what the name. Yeah,
I think it's the stronger the relationship you form with these girls, the more powerful children you'll have, and then they'll be able to fight better for you.
Like real life.
Is this one you're talking about on Beyond that was kind of like a Persona ripoff?
No, that's mine.
Well, this one is sort of related to Persona.
I watched the trailer, and it totally looks like Persona. It's got this awesome song behind it, and then he's pulling up his hand, and things are coming off, and he's fighting. I'm like, yep, that looks like Persona.
Yeah, so I don't know. We should get a build of this game soon, and I'm not sure, what to expect from this game, but I'm glad that these kinds of games are coming out. And there's obviously an audience for them. I mean, Atlas is taking risks now because of how well Dragon's Crown did specifically. So And Persona obviously sold like 800,000 copies on Vita.
Yeah. The developer is Spike Chunsoft, the same guys that did Danganronpa.
Yeah, Spike Chunsoft that's like a pretty well-known Japanese developer. They do a lot of stuff. Yeah, they're doing the Danganronpa games and have quite a bit of respect. And they actually have quite a broad range of games because Danganronpa is really more like Phoenix Wright than anything else. So this studio doesn't only make JRPGs; they make adventure games too.
On April 22nd, Demon Gaze comes to Vita. This is a Japanese dungeon crawler. Yeah,
Demon Gaze looks cool, and we haven't seen much of what this game's all about either, but this game came out in Japan last year. It did okay, and NIS is bringing this over. And the beauty of a publisher like NIS, who I actually know really well, and I know the guys over there, is that they have realistic expectations that allow them to bring games like this over. And that's what I love so much about that studio. When I was in Japan and I was talking to the CEO of the company, I was like, we were talking, in other words, about, like realistic expectations. I brought up Square and how they expected, Tomb Raider to sell all these copies, and it sold millions of copies and it wasn't good enough, but they can sell Danganronpa or whatever and sell 100,000 copies. And it's a huge success for them. It's because they keep everything in context and they keep everything kind of on the up and up, and they don't have unrealistic expectations, and they're catering to their audience. That's why they bring over Hyperdimension Neptunia and all these games that actually sell pretty well by their standards. That would be nothing for a company like Square.
Sure. I mean, I feel like dudes in the past, it would be a guy like Vic Ireland or, Atlas. And now we see companies like Xseed, like NIS. They run lean and mean. They don't have a lot of employees. They translate these smaller games. They release them. They know they're not going to sell very well, but they sell well enough that, everyone earns their paycheck and they earn enough to make that next game, and then they have, like you said, this market of 50 to 100,000 people that they cater to, and they're like, that's their business, and that works.
Yeah, like I know with NIS, for instance, like I know those guys, like at their office, in Southern California, someone will go on their website and order Danganronpa or Demon Gaze or whatever, and they'll actually stuff the envelopes themselves and send, like they like everyone does everything. The marketing guy does the PR, they're QA testing the games and stuff. It's a really kind of cool approach, cool. Yeah.
I'm really glad there's still companies like that bringing over these Japanese games.
Me too.
We just found out today that Ubisoft's Child of Light will be out April 30th.
Game looks awesome.
Yeah, the trailer for this is so beautiful.
This is definitely one of our most anticipated RPGs among the IGN editors for sure.
Made with if you're watching this trailer and it looks like Rayman, that's because it's the same the same tech made that game as this game.
Same engine. It's a bunch of devs that worked on Far Cry 3. And
it looks excellent.
It's 2D side scrolling. It's definitely an RPG.
We just got quiet and watched the trailer.
I
know, that's what I was doing.
Yeah, it looks really cool. I wish it was coming to Vita, but I think that
it's coming to like most of the consoles, all the consoles. Right?
Yeah, it is. I just feel like I always default to Vita for these kinds of games because it's the same thing with Rayman. Like, I loved playing Rayman specifically on Vita. In fact, when Rayman, it wasn't Legends, but what was the one before
Origins.
that? Origins came out, and I played it on PS3, and I'm like, didn't really resonate with me. And then there's something about playing it on Vita on a smaller screen in a little bursts or whatever. I feel like games like these RPGs, Dragon's Crown is a good example of that too.
Sure, I would agree. Like I played Fire Emblem so much on my 3DS, and like I don't feel like I would have sat in front of a TV and played that game as often. Like it's just like you pop it open and play and close, and like I can see like an old school JRPG somehow feeling like it's more of a fit.
Well, that's why Persona works so well, right? Yeah. Persona 4 Golden was such a hit because it was exactly that. Like go dungeon crawl for your train ride and then you're done. Sure. Forget about it. Come back.
On May 14th, we get Divinity Original Sin. This is a Kickstarted game. It's an isometric, very old school RPG, and it ships with the editor that they used to create the game.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
it looks like one of those. I'm going to assume I don't know anything about it. One of those German-made or Eastern European RPGs.
Larian Studios is the developer. It's just coming to PC. Now that's everything that has a release date so far in this year.
Okay,
that's only about half of the games that are supposedly coming out this year. The most anticipated RPG among the IGN audience is, without a doubt, The Witcher 3.
The Witcher 3.
We took a user vote. That's real stats.
Yeah, for sure. And it won People's Choice Award at E3.
As if you would make it up.
We can see back-end stats, too.
Yeah. We could also just see like how many articles people are clicking on.
Damon's not lying to you.
Just so you know, Damon's usually full of BS, but not today.
You think I'll actually make it out this year?
Witcher 3?
Yeah.
Think so? I mean, I don't know. Yeah, sure. I don't know.
It's been in development for a long time. I feel like it's realistic.
The hype around it's been going
through the roof.
Long. Yeah, I would think it'd be a fall release, right?
It looks incredible.
So I cannot believe how good this game looks.
Right?
And that makes me really want to play it. But then I'm hesitant to say that out loud because 10 years ago, what would I have been saying? I cannot believe how good Cameo looks. It's going to be incredible. So it's like, obviously the gameplay needs to be there, but, Witcher 1 and 2 are rock solid. So I'm not worried in that regard. It seems like it's more open. It's one of the first huge high-budget RPGs coming out after the success of Skyrim. And I know it's not an open world in the way that Skyrim is, but it's obviously that they're taking some influence from that in terms of, your freedom to run around this game world.
It does look outrageously good,
right?
It does look outrageously good.
It's PC, PS4, and Xbox One.
You're in for some shit. When, like, at the start of this trailer, it's like, this is all real in-game footage. And you're like, all right, here we go. It's absolutely gorgeous.
I'm really excited for that.
I hope it's not. I mean, Witcher 2, this probably makes me sound like a filthy casual gamer, but I thought Witcher 2 was too hard. It was too challenging.
I like the... It's very high fantasy,
I like that part of it.
It's a very smart game, very mature game, and I like that that's out there.
A lot of sex.
They're not just telling you where to go all the time.
Sure.
It's not just quick time events.
I consider it actually the difference between low fantasy and high fantasy is like elves and dudes in robes and stabs, and low fantasy is like dirty and gritty and
Am I misusing the term? I thought maybe.
Sure. But I do hope that and I read an interview where they're not making a casual game. They're not making a game that's super simple, but they are
not Flappy Birds.
They were concerned that people would die in the very first battle of Witcher 2. They're like, look, we want to make a hard game and a challenging game, but that's not the game we're trying to make. So I hopefully it's a little bit more smoothed out.
And there is Dragon Age Inquisition.
The one that gets it right.
The Dragon Age that gets it right?
It'll be the balance between what everybody loved or hated about every other
It's supposed to be a medieval Far Cry 3. And that
sounds awesome.
Awesome, right? That sounds really, really good.
Yeah.
That's a lofty goal.
Right?
Far Cry 3 is an exceptional game.
Exceptional game.
Dragon Age Origins wasn't so exceptional, and I didn't play Dragon Age 2.
Okay.
But
I thought the Origins was pretty well received. But
on PC it was.
That was the whole thing, is that there was this barometer that swung back and forth of people who were like, Origins, either you loved Origins or it seemed like you thought Origins was too nitty-gritty. Mm-hmm. So then Dragon Age 2 dialed it way back, and people were like, this isn't enough of what we loved about Origins.
I just felt like next to, this game came out of BioWare Edmonton, right? Like, we expected great things out of Dragon Age Origins, and it felt, I keep saying, I felt like a B-team experience next to Mass Effect and Mass Effect 2. Yeah. Maybe my expectations were just too high for it, but I didn't get anything that I wanted out of that game. I felt like that game was too long, kind of obtuse, and boring. Like, I didn't understand the hype around that game. So I never played Dragon Age 2, and now with Inquisition, I don't care. Like, I'll wait until we see more of it to and make my decision then.
I agree that Origins was overrated. I'm surprised. I've never really heard many people talk about not liking that game that much, because I played about 10 hours of it, and I'm like, I get it, but I'm content.
What did you play it on?
PC.
See, this was one of the big discrepancies early on, is that the PC version was like pretty much, the way it controlled was awesome, and then the consoles weren't.
Okay.
And so a lot of people in the office played it on consoles, I remember. And were like,
I'm just saying I didn't love it on PC. Like, I thought it was, I'm like, okay, yeah, it's fun, but I don't care. I don't particularly care to play anymore. I actually liked the combat system. I didn't find it to be obtuse. I thought it was the world itself. I'm just like, I'm not that invested in this story.
Yeah.
3 looks really great. I totally.
If it is medieval Far Cry 3, I'll be all over it.
Yeah, like The Witcher. I mean, I totally think this game looks gorgeous.
It's very pretty,
and that definitely works in its favor. Hey.
Did they say it's like Far Cry 3, or
no?
That was an IGN article.
Oh, okay.
That's gotta be.
Because I'm just saying that's setting up people for disappointment if it's not that. Because Far Cry 3 is really one of the great shooters. I think. I literally think that's one of the great shooters of all time.
It sounds like a Mitch Dyer joint.
I agree.
And I was so surprised actually by how good that game was. So I just want to make sure expectations are realistic when.
I mean, I think and again, I'm sort of paraphrasing Mitch at this point, but I think what he liked about it is it's open in the sense that, like, you can take over bases or you can choose not to. Like, you can come across a keep and choose to take it over, and when you take it over, then you get people that you can send out into the world, and it's sort of, you get to shape the world in the way that you see fit and sort of take over portions of it and, like, control that territory on top of sort of the linear story. And so I think that's what gave him that sort of Far Cry feel.
Gotcha.
Now, of all these games that may or may not come out this year, maybe Kingdom Hearts 3?
Kingdom Hearts. There's no way Kingdom Hearts 3 is coming out. I think Kingdom Hearts 3 is like probably literally a 2017 game. Like, I don't think that game's like even remotely, and maybe 2016. Like, I don't think that game's anywhere near being ready. I thought they said that too. I thought they said that, like, the game, when they announced that the game is like not even really being developed.
The company line supposedly is that it's, they're aiming for 2014 still, even though that doesn't seem realistic.
There's no way. I just can't. I mean, I think the timing would be good with Kingdom Hearts 2.5, but I think that game is so I wouldn't say 2017. I'd say 2016. The same thing with Final Fantasy 15. Like that, those games aren't coming out this year.
They're gonna be car sick.
When it does come out, it'll be the first Kingdom Hearts on a Microsoft console. It's supposed to come to PS4 and Xbox One.
Yep.
So that'd be cool.
Think we're gonna get Star Wars and Marvel stages?
That'd be awesome.
Be cool, very cool, right? But Kingdom Hearts HD 2.5 Remix, that one should hit PS3 this year.
Yeah, that'll be out this year. Yeah. So what was cool about Kingdom Hearts 1.5, I'm not a Kingdom Hearts fan at all, but what I was really surprised about when I was reading the sales numbers was that game charted on MPD when it came out, which is unbelievable. It's an HD it's an HD compilation.
Is that really that surprising though? It's like people love Kingdom Hearts.
No, I know, but I didn't know they loved Kingdom Hearts like that. You know what I mean? Like it was it sold really well. I think that's why they are bringing 2.5 over and with all due haste. But
another one of those games where you talk about it and it resonates with people that they remember it so fondly.
Yeah. So the HD collection includes Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix and Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep Final Mix.
Yep.
These Japanese titles.
Yeah, they're bad.
The Square Enix name
Bravely Default
is one of my favorite things.
Well, yeah.
That's a bad name.
Final Fantasy 15.
No way.
No way, right?
Yeah, I can't. Well, first of all, they wouldn't release two mainline Final Fantasy games, I don't think, in the same year. And if they did, we haven't seen anything from this game at all. And I assume that this game is being, it's Final Fantasy versus 13, right, whatever that's being brought. And there's a lot of work to be done on this game still. If they want to bring it to next gen and stuff like that. So I wouldn't count on it.
The counterpoint is that game has been in the works for, 4 or 5 years?
Maybe longer, 6 years.
So it's
originally announced as Final Fantasy Versus 13 back in 2006. So
yeah, it's been a long. So this was a game that was announced before PS3 came out. So, and we remember this, and it's like Age in or Last Guardian, where it's where is this game? It disappeared. Yeah. But I think it's actually suffering from the same problem that Last Guardian is most likely suffering from, which is they scrapped the game and they're bringing it to PS4. So, that's what we assumed happened with The Last Guardian, and I assume it's a big job. Team Ico didn't put a game out all generation because they were all stuck in the mud with their game, and so you assume the same thing might be happening to this team.
I'm optimistic about 15. I mean, based on what I've seen and read so far, it feels like it's getting the franchise back on track. I like the world that they're building a lot. This sort of modern take, and I normally like medieval Final Fantasy, but for some reason, this world I just like its visual style a lot. I like the style of the characters. I like the gameplay that we've seen, sort of the action-oriented gameplay that seems to be a combination of Lightning Returns, which I worry is going to be too much action, and then the old school games, which are often very slow-paced. So it's definitely one that I'm hyped for.
What about Persona 5?
Now we are talking.
Yeah, so
make it out this year though.
Yeah, I think it will, at least in Japan. I don't think it's going to be a global release. I don't have any information on that, but. Persona 5 was announced alongside 3 other Persona games, and this is the first mainline Persona game since 2008. So, this team's been working on this presumably since Catherine came out, since the Persona team made Catherine. So, it's probably going to be ready to go within the next year. But people are super excited about this. I've been talking to people, and they don't realize how huge Persona is. In Japan, especially, that is going to be an event when that game comes out. Yeah. That game is going to murder when it comes out in Japan, and I'm actually just interested to see how well it sells, because you're probably talking.
Well, it's coming to PS3, right?
Yep, and you're probably talking. Week one, you're probably talking. I don't know, at least 500,000 copies in Japan. Yeah. So which is an extraordinary amount of copies for a game. So
for Japan, for sure.
Yeah.
When I was looking for footage for all these games, I couldn't find anything.
There is no footage, I don't think. There's that one picture.
Like black and red.
Yeah, and they're Sega bought Atlas, and it seems like they understand the intrinsic value of that series, and so a lot of these games were in progress for a long time before that. But you're going to have Persona Q on 3DS and Dancing All Night on Vita, and then Persona 4 Arena 2 on PS3. So it's going to be a Persona-filled year, I think.
And what about Deep Down?
Deep Down. I played Deep Down in Japan.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know that.
It wasn't very good from when I played, but it was there's caveats to that. I can't read the controls on the screen. I couldn't talk to the person showing the demo. I couldn't invert my controls. But with that said, the game is it was brutally hard. The woman was laughing at me when I was playing it because I was I couldn't play, but I didn't really. It seemed kind of heavy.
It's like Dark Souls, right? Like it's intended to be this similar deal.
Yeah, I think so. But I think it's procedural, and you know, I think that it's free to play too.
It's a free to play game.
And yeah, so Capcom's making it. I'm confident if it's free to play, I'm interested to see like what that model looks like. But
I mean, that's the thing. Like, is it going to ruin the gameplay? Like, can you imagine a Dark Souls that was free to play, but then you could like pay to revive your dude and not have to like
This
lose your
boss too
stuff?
hard?
Yeah. Oh, like that undermines the whole thing.
Yeah.
So hopefully it's not like that.
yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
And that Dark Souls comparison also might be like when that game was first announced and revealed. That was the label that people put on it, and now that's sort of stuck in my head. But the game might not even be like just because it's a hardcore action RPG doesn't mean that comparison is really fair or apt. So
Yeah, and I want another shot at it too because I just didn't. I wasn't. It's the same thing when I played Lords of Shadow 2 there, which I actually really enjoyed, but I just couldn't read the screen. I couldn't figure out the controls. You know, like there's obviously a major component of this missing that I can't understand. So I actually am super confident deep down. I just don't know, you know, what it's going to be. Because I'm not sure, like Justin was saying, that the Dark Souls comparisons are actually going to be accurate.
whenever I'm at E3 though, and they have a controller diagram, and then they have like 11 arrows pointing at what every button does, I'm like, I'm gonna assume that this trigger pulls, like fires my gun.
Right.
It's a PS4 exclusive, isn't it?
Yep.
The Wii U needs games. Not just RPGs, they just need games
Yeah,
in general.
sure.
You got that Mario Kart, that Smash Bro?
Yeah. X looks hot, actually.
It does. So Monolith is doing that, and I assume it's going to be awesome.
Amazing, right?
Yeah.
It's part of the Xeno series.
Yeah.
So like Xenoblade Chronicles. The developer said they want it to be something like Fallout.
Okay.
So that sounds cool, right?
Yeah.
The Wii U could use something like Fallout.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be. The assumption is this is going to be a great game, right?
Yep.
Just like the one on Wii was. But is it going to sell? Is it going to move units? I mean, I think it'll sell fine for the developer. I'm not sure if this is the game Wii U really needs.
Yeah.
But it's cool that they're getting it.
It's crazy. There are no Wii U games that look like this.
Yeah.
There's a good chance, in my opinion, that this could end up being the best non-Nintendo game on the console. It does look absolutely awesome.
I really hope it makes it out this year.
I mean, I wonder, are they Nintendo's publishing? Or how's that? Do we know the nature of that?
I think they are. I think they're funding the game.
Probably
I actually
Monolith is a second-party studio, I think. Right.
Look at that. Oh, it looks so good.
This looks so awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's got that feel of even the spirit of even something like not necessarily related, but Xenogears, like just the mech, RPG fight. It just looks awesome.
Just the scope of it, like that trailer we just watched, like gives you such a feeling of epicness that you don't get in a lot of other RPGs.
Yeah. Colin, Tales of Xillia 2 has been out in Japan since 2012.
Yep. So here's the thing with Xillia. Like when that game came out, I think Namco was surprised by how well it did here. And we were talking about Symphonia before. Symphonia was the best-selling Tales game in the States and the quickest-selling, I think, until Xillia came out. And people were ready for that game, and people wanted that game, and it ended up being really good. So I think they fast-tracked Xillia 2's, out of nowhere kind of fast-tracked the localization. They do the localization right. They get voice actors. They don't just they don't just translate the text and stuff like that. So it's going to take time, but Tales is growing in the vacuum of what people want from something like Final Fantasy or Dragon Quest, because we forget that Dragon Quest totally changed too, and with Dragon Quest X and left sort of a void. There's a void now for a game like Tales, and so we're seeing that popularity of that series grow worldwide because people aren't getting what they want out of the series that they used to be able to go to, and I think Tales is the right game at the right time. So I'm excited. I'm really excited about Xillia 2. Xillia was a good game. And
so is it a sequel? It follows those characters, or like how?
So it's a sequel in that world. So I assume it's going to be like Tales of Destiny 2. Like there's another Tales of Destiny game, for instance, and I think it's going to be Symphonia has its sequel, and it's kind of like a similar world. Some of the same characters, some crossover, but new characters and stuff like that too.
Xillia 2 is coming to PS3.
Yep, PS3 exclusive. Yeah.
Anybody play Wasteland back in 1988?
I didn't, no.
I kickstarted the sequel.
Did you?
I love that picture.
Yeah, it's a very cool picture. So you did not play the original, but kickstarted the sequel.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, so tell
You're
us
a
about
fake
that.
fan.
What?
You don't even know your history.
Tell us about it.
Oh. I mean, it just seems like this is the progenitor to Fallout. Mm-hmm. So it's post-apocalyptic, 3/4 overhead RPG, isometric viewpoint RPG. Very old school, very classic. the main reason I kickstarted it wasn't because of, obviously I never played the original. It wasn't for hype for that franchise, but just because I want to see old stuff like that come back. And so I was just voting with my wallet.
Yeah. It's supposed to be out this year for PC.
We're going to talk about another RPG that's very similar that I'm much more excited about than Wasteland.
Pillars of Eternity?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you kickstart that one?
Yes, I did.
Interesting.
Pillars of Eternity is going to be the real deal.
Look at you on Kickstarter. I've never kickstarted anything.
I'm up to 20 plus now, I think. Wow. Yeah, I mean, with Kickstarter, I just sort of feel like this, I really wish that this could happen. I wish it could exist. And now, you have the opportunity as a consumer to put in, to help that.
What I like about Pillars of Eternity is it's a fantasy RPG with pre-rendered backgrounds.
I know.
That sounds awesome. It sounds so old school and cool.
Well, all these Infinity Engine games, Baldur's Gate, Planescape Torment, Icewind Dale, people loved them, and then they went away, and they were gone, and people thought they were gone forever. And now we're learning is that stuff like Pillars of Eternity can exist alongside The Witcher 3. You don't need to have one or the other, and that's why I'm so excited about a game like Pillars of Eternity made by Obsidian, correct?
It is Obsidian, so they've been working on South Park and that.
Some of the best writers in the RPG business of all time.
That's a very well-respected studio that went to Kickstarter.
Yeah, it's very strange to me, actually, that they even had to. But like Justin's saying, this is probably more of a niche game. Well, not even niche, it's just that it's an old way of looking at an RPG that people still want to play. But they're a big studio. I'm surprised the publisher didn't latch on to that idea.
I mean, it's because they wanted to make it that way. They wanted to make it pre-rendered backgrounds, overhead perspective, and publishers are like, well, I don't blame them. Publishers are running a business. They got to do what they got to do. I mean, I think, I like a lot of games. I like shooters. I like RPGs. I'm excited about The Witcher because it looks gorgeous and really high budget. But I'm also excited about Pillars of Eternity because I feel like that's a game that I'll curl up with and envelop myself in and totally just focus on that game world and the writing and the characters. I hope the characters are as strong as they are in a game like Planescape Torment. I feel like that game is gonna be the real deal. And every single update that I read and thing that I hear about that game feels like they're really going about it the way that they should, the smart way.
You're gonna have this new baby, and then you're just gonna abandon the wife and the baby. I gotta get enveloped in this game, honey. Help me!
The never-ending dungeon just doesn't.
That's right.
Justin and his wife are pregnant, in case you're wondering. What's going on with that game? Because they raised over $4 million through Kickstarter, and then in December they pulled their backers, asking if they'd be willing to donate more.
They did delay the game.
Okay.
And I think that happens often, is these Kickstarters sometimes experience catastrophic success, where if they raise, this is exactly what happened at Double Fine, actually. Since they raised many times more money than they were expecting, they had to deliver many times more game. And you can't there's not just lever that you can pull and translate money into more game. And so that's a challenge. Okay, now we have to deliver a $4 million game, not a $1 million game. Sometimes, even with the additional money, you can't do that in the time frame you allotted. And so that's what I think is going on there. It was originally going to come out this spring, and now it's coming out later this year.
Can you cap the amount of donations you receive on Kickstarter?
I don't believe
Kickstarter takes a cut of all that. Right?
Yeah, they don't want
you to cap it.
No.
Please stop giving us money.
I don't believe you can. I think that delay is the right thing for that game. Again, because an RPG like that is so intricate and elaborate, and that storyline has to be so cohesive and fit into the game world, and the characters have to fit into that game world. That level of planning is higher than it is in a typical game.
But this is where the shadiness of Kickstarter starts to come in.
You're
right?
not a big fan, yeah.
No, I'm not. But I mean, just with Obsidian, an established studio with money, with means for sure. Mm-hmm. Going back and being would you give us more money? Now you really are treating your base like a publisher, and if you're really going to treat them like that, and they're not getting a return at all on the product other than the game, there is a problem. This is for another conversation probably, but that really bothers me to hear that. You got 4 times more money than you even asked for, and I understand what Justin's saying, but that's not acceptable. That's weird. That's that's what you do to a publisher.
Sure.
You go to the publisher and be like, we need 6 more months and $10 million more, and they're like, okay or no.
Yeah.
But not to the people that are already funding your dream to make this game. I think I have a problem with that.
Sure. I mean, I guess it doesn't bother me. People always point to the Kickstarters, not to derail this whole thing and make it a Kickstarter thing, but people point to the things that failed or the ones that turned out to be pretty scammy. But I've Kickstarted probably 25 or 30 things, and most are on time, and I get my product, and I'm happy. Board games and video games, and the Minecraft documentary, Indie Game the Movie was Kickstarted. I got my limited edition DVD of that, and most things run really smoothly. I feel like I don't know if anybody's run the number, but I don't feel like the stats on failure on Kickstarter are higher than anything else. Like a project either stays on time and on budget or it doesn't, regardless of where that money comes from.
All right.
Sure.
Maybe a lesser-known RPG that's coming to PC, 360, and PS3 is The Dark Eye Demonicon. Which is based on a German pen-and-paper role-playing game that was released in 1984 and actually is more popular than D&D in Germany.
Wow. How funny that you can always spot these German RPGs a mile away.
Well, yeah, I know. It's actually already out on PC. It's supposed to be coming to 360 and PS3 this year.
Yeah,
that's coming out.
Doesn't look like my kind of game.
Yeah. There's a new MMO from former Blizzard developers called Wildstar. It's pretty high profile.
That's another one we've been hearing about forever.
Yeah,
it seems
it's
like
been a long time
forever ago
coming,
the
right?
first time I wrote an article about Wildstar, interviewed somebody about it. And it's always looked cool. Everyone who goes and sees it comes back and talks about how cool it is and that they're excited for it. But
Sci-fi MMO.
yeah.
It's a neat name. I like the
Wildstar?
name. Yeah.
Wildstar.
Makes me think of like an 80s cartoon.
I like the name.
Yeah.
Like Silverhawks. What was the one with
Wildcats.
What was the one with the sheriff on Mars or whatever? People
I
are
don't
yelling
know.
at the TV
Yeah.
screen. And
I don't know.
There
I have no
was
idea.
one. There was an.
I believe it.
Mars Sheriff.
Wildstar looks really cool.
Marsy.
Yeah.
I haven't played Wildstar. I haven't been in any of the betas, so that's the caveat. But based on what I've read about the game, it feels like they really understand how people play MMOs. Or what they understand is that people play MMOs differently. And then they have these different roles. Some people just want to explore. Some people just want to craft. Some people just want to fight. And they have these archetypes that you can be just an explorer. And then they'll do things like have race from point A to point B, and whoever can race there the fastest wins, And maybe you don't care about leveling up your character and earning like the highest stats and getting the drops to get the thing. And they seem to understand that different people play MMOs in different ways. And I think that's a key insight that could help that game succeed.
There's an expansion for World of Warcraft. It's supposed to be out this year.
Finally adds player housing, sort of.
Yeah, Warlords of Draenor. I think that's how it's pronounced. Raises level cap to 100, and now you can build and upgrade your own base or garrison, whatever they call it. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm over WoW, I guess.
Are they working on like another WoW, like a new platform for this?
I mean, the last expansion did replace like the whole old world, like that kind of. They just built WoW 2 into WoW, sort of.
I didn't know that.
Which one was that?
The
one?
Cataclysm. I guess 2 expansions ago, Cataclysm did that.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I played WoW. I've played days and days and days of WoW, hundreds of hours, but each expansion I play a little bit less than the expansion before. Like, I get hyped for it, and I buy it, and then I just, and one I'll get up to rating, and then one I won't even get to the rating point, and then the next one, I play even a little bit less than that. It's not a knock against the game. It's just 10 years old. It's 10 years old, and it feels 10 years old. And, they're doing the best they can, and, there's talented people making talented content, but, they can't make it not feel its age anymore, in my opinion.
Yeah, and it's unbelievable that it's still going. I mean, it is a testament to the game, but I remember my first E3 when I was 19, they announced that game. I'm 29, It's just like maybe it's, but I just read that the subscriber base actually went up.
It still has, 7.8?
Yeah, they're still
in between 7 or 8 million subscribers.
They're still making money.
Still, millions and millions of dollars a month that they make off that.
They will, when that game does eventually dwindle, they will flip the free-to-play switch, and then it will go absolutely nuts again. Hey, this game you've been hearing about for a decade, you can finally play without giving us a cent, and it'll go crazy.
Now, Colin, we were talking about Soul Saga Episode 1.
Oh, yeah.
Recently.
Yeah,
This is Kickstarted.
Yeah, so this is a Kickstarter game. So I was actually there are Kickstarted games. I won't Kickstart anything on principle, but there are Kickstarted games that I really am excited about. Mighty No. 9 is obviously the great example. And that was the test, right? Everyone's like, you're going to do it now. And I'm like, no, I'm not, because first of all, he doesn't need me to do it. He's obviously going to get the game. I'll buy it. But Soul Saga was a game I was really excited about because this is supposed to be, a Bravely Default style return to form for old school JRPGs that we grew up with. And it's episode 1, so it's the first part of however many parts. But apparently the game is a disaster. And
there's been some controversy.
Yeah, apparently the guys, it's one guy making the game. He's way over his head.
One guy.
And there's just interesting stories. Someone linked me to a NeoGAF forum thread that's 15, 16, 17 pages long now about. And I was reading it about, this guy used some of the money to go to Japan to hire an artist, and then he fired the artist, then the art changed. One of the characters literally looks like Cloud now from Final Fantasy VII, literally looks like Buster Sword, shoulder pads, spiky hair. I looked at, someone put them next to each other. I'm like, this is unbelievable.
So it's a feeling that now they're getting something that they didn't back.
Yeah.
I mean, that's part of the thing. You're part of the development process now, and so I don't know how to feel about that. That is a little bit of he said, she said, where let's say you back this project because of the art style. Man, I love this. I'm going to give you my money. And then that art style changes. Like, are you entitled to be mad? Are you entitled to complain and get a refund? Say, hey, man, this is why I wanted this. Now I don't want it anymore because you changed it. It's not what you promised me. Or is that a part of the creative process?
Yeah.
Like, that's tricky. Like, I don't have the answer to that question.
Yeah, and I think the stickier point with this specific game is not only that they're changing the art and doing all these things, but that the guy doesn't seem to actually have a grasp of what he's doing or the experience to really produce a game like this.
Sure. It feels like this one's going to get worse before it gets better.
Yeah, I don't know. I hope it comes out because the video, I remember like the stuff, like the concept of the game looked and sounded really cool. Yeah. But you know, it seems like there's just mismanagement problems. There's a lack of knowledge. That someone was saying, like, the things he's even saying that he's doing, you know, like, I'm doing this, and this week or whatever. It's like, you can't, like, that's not the way it works. You know, like, you can't, like, I'm going to write the AI and do this and, you know, write, you know, this program and this program. I'm not sure. I don't make games, but that just doesn't sound right to me. You know, like, you have to have a foundation. You build on the foundation. You keep building the game. And I hope it comes out because I think it looks really cool. But I'm betting that this game probably doesn't come out.
Sure. Yeah. We'll see. Keep following that one. Mm-hmm. Finally, our last RPG here is another JRPG for Vita called Mind Zero.
Mind Zero. So this is from Acquire, I think. And
Tenshu.
Yep, Acquire did Tenshu. So they're an OG Japanese developer. And they more recently did, what was that? Sumioni, remember that Demon Arts game that was on Vita, that really Vita game?
The one that was
where
like
you drew on it?
Yeah, you drew.
It was a really cool idea. It didn't work out very well, but they're pretty dedicated to Vita. And so Mind Zero is being brought over by Axis, which is another company even smaller than NIS that brought over like Muramasa on Vita and these other, you know, games. They're doing Blaze Blue, Chrono Phantasma, whatever that game is. So I'm sorry, I think it's Blaze Blue.
It is.
So this game is supposed to be. What I've been reading about this game is that it's a rip-off of Persona.
This is the one we're talking about.
There are a lot of games JRPGs that are compared to Persona, apparently.
Yeah, and apparently this game also wasn't very popular in Japan in terms of its critical reception.
Out in Japan, is that right?
Yeah, and so there's a theory on, you know, I don't know why they're bringing this over. The assumption is that they're bringing it over and they let Axis translate it because they need to get their money back. You know, because it might not even made the money back that they sold. But Mind Zero is a cool idea and premise. I just don't know how it's going to work out. But it's a Vita game, and the Vita audience buys a lot of games. So, you know, the same people that are buying the Atelier games on Vita and that are going to buy Danganronpa and that are going to buy Demon Gaze, they're probably going to buy this game too. So, we'll see how it all shakes out.
That is 30 RPGs. On the horizon, yeah.
The year of the RPG.
Like, does that tell us that what are the takeaways here? That RPG genre seems to be pretty healthy.
It's back,
right?
It's back. I think it's. I mean, I don't know how you guys feel, but I feel like Western RPGs have taken over the mind share so much, and Japanese RPGs, by comparison, had looked so bad and tired that I think the pendulum's not necessarily swinging, but we're finding a middle ground now where all of these games can kind of exist, and that we need the Tales of Xillias and the Final Fantasy XIVs and the Kingdom Hearts, along with the Fallout 4s and the Dragon Ages and stuff. I'm actually think we're in a great place right now.
But even most of the Eastern RPGs, even most of the Japanese RPGs feel and look more like Western RPGs now. And they, you know, to an extent, but, you know, it's not just dudes like thunking another guy with a sword anymore. Like they feel that sort of fluid, fast-paced, open, you know, player freedom. They seem to be embracing a lot of that.
Yeah. And I think, you know, we know Japanese culture is very traditional, and they have a solid fan base there that likes the games they make, and I think it's taken them a long time to realize, well, our market's shrinking, the Western market's growing, and we have real fans there that want certain kinds of games, and they want Final Fantasy 15. They just don't want it like Final Fantasy 13. They want it somewhere in the middle. You got to have that. There's nothing more charming than a Japanese game to me. Like, there's nothing more charming than that anime style, than the silly dialogue, than, you know, all of the conventions that we've grew up loving about Japanese role-playing games, but they have to marry them with the progress that Western RPGs have given the genre, and I think they're doing it. You know, I think that they're doing it.
Yeah, I agree. When you see a game like Skyrim sell 20 million copies, they announced, that doesn't mean you need to go out and make Skyrim, but you can't ignore it. Like, you need to understand, like, okay, like, if I'm making a traditional party-based anime role-playing game, what does that mean for me? Like, how do I capture a portion of those 20 million gamers? And you see that you see that in some of the stuff I was talking about, like that level of player freedom and other ways that they can sort of at least, again, yeah, you're right, move that pendulum a little bit more in that direction.
Yeah, it doesn't need to swing all the way back or whatever. And what I love too is we've seen is that PlayStation for a long time has been known as like the place where you go to get JRPGs, right? Like recently, and especially the niche
Still,
stuff.
apparently.
It is for the most part, like with Vita and PS3, but you got X on Wii U, and you got Bravely Default on 3DS, and you have great PC games, especially these Kickstarter Western RPGs, and these games, these cross-platform games like Dragon Age are coming to Xbox One and PS4, and so there's no matter what console you have or what you prefer to play. Seems like there's something for everyone, which I think is really cool too. So you don't just have to be like stuck into this niche where it's like I have to have a PS3 and I have to hold on to it and keep it plugged in. Well, you don't have to. You can play Bravely Default and get your fix, And so I think that's kind of cool too. So I think the broadening of it is really a good sign too. I think we might be going back into a renaissance very similar to what we had from say 92, 93 to 2000, where it was a great time for JRPGs.
We should throw a Renaissance fair here at IGN.
Oh, can we get turkey legs?
Yeah?
Yeah, all right.
That's all Greg needs to know.
Done, Ian.
That's all. That's Greg's closing comment input.
I mean, like in the closing comment, is too many dragons. Let's get Fallout 4.
Oh,
well, there is that, right?
Yeah. Where are we at now?
That's the king of them all. I mean, that's the what is it? The 800-pound gorilla, whatever, in the room is like this. That we know this game exists and it's going to be huge, and we just don't know anything about it yet.
I'll be very happy the day they announce.
Oh, me too.
Fallout 4.
Me too.
Before we go, real quick, let's check in with the listeners.
Hey, listeners.
Hey, listeners.
Remember, you can always reach us at the email address, gamescoop@ign.com, just like Landon Cheatham did.
Oh, I thought it was going to be Calrissian.
Landon Calrissian, yes. Landon asks, if you were in an RPG, what character role would you choose, given the options rogue, warrior, or mage? In this scenario, rogue uses bow and arrow, warrior uses sword and shield, and mage uses a staff.
Rogue.
You'd have to be a warrior.
No, I want to use the bow and arrow.
You're always talking about how you're a brute strength guy.
Yeah, in real life, not in the game. Let me live, Damon.
I don't know that I see Greg as a rogue. I would choose to be a rogue because I like using ranged weaponry.
Fine. So you want me to run in there and tank everything while you shoot back from afar? All right, I'll do it for you.
They're just punching you in the face.
I'm just like, I wish I had a bow and arrow.
It's too bad there aren't 4 classes since there are 4 of us, but it's true. One of us is going to have to double up at least. I don't know.
I would be the ranger.
Yeah.
Because I want to be like Katniss.
No.
I could see Colin being a mage. Are you going to be a mage? Or?
I was going to say, before he gave me the choice, I was going to be like, I'm going to be a healer. But no, I don't want. I don't like that we have these 3 categories. Because I think about the crossover between categories. A paladin or a monk. Or all these.
Why do we all have to be straight DPS?
Yeah. I don't. Yeah. So I'd like to use a little bit of magic. I'd like to have maybe a short sword and some leather mail and
battle mage.
Something. Yeah. I mean, keep me in the back row.
Okay, but so you're definitely a back row guy.
Yeah, so maybe I'm like Locke or something where I have in Final Fantasy VI where I have a boomerang or something, but or I can be like Shadow, be a ninja and have a cool dog. And
Colin, do you want to play DC Universe tonight and you can turn it on and be a healer?
No,
I'll power level you.
No, I'm all set. I appreciate the offer though. I'm going to play Dust Force tonight.
Okay.
Yeah.
Everybody remember you can win this 3DS XL and a copy of Bravely Default just by commenting below this video. Let us know what your favorite RPG of all time is and why. Before we go, let's all share our favorite RPG and why. Colin, what's yours? I bet you have it ready to go.
Wild Arms is my favorite RPG of all time.
Wow, for PlayStation.
Yep, PlayStation 1, 1997, Media Vision. That's basically the only series they ever made. That Wild Arms is an exceptional game, and I think that it would be well remembered. It's well remembered, but I think it would be more popular if Final Fantasy VII wasn't right on the horizon when that game came out. I mean, I think the timing of Wild Arms' release is actually what injured it.
Now I feel bad because I actually never played that one.
It's one of my favorite games of all time, and it's very focused. It's about 3 characters. There's no swapping out of characters out of your party. Like you get to really know these characters, and the story's really sad. And the series went on, and it's not as good. But that first game is truly, truly special, and that's a really, really, really good early PS1 game. Yeah.
Justin?
Grandia.
It's a great choice.
Loved it so much. It had such a great sense of adventure. That's what I loved about it. And the main character is also named Justin.
That's good reason why.
But that's
because you named it.
It's a checklist for Justin.
It's like it is like adventure personified, or like exploration personified. And that's what I like to do most on games, is explore and adventure around. Like you get to the end of the world and then go past it. And that's just awesome. Like it's an awesome epic moment in that game, and there's this still the whole game in front of you. And like I also have such a nostalgia trip for that game. And the battle system. It's probably the best battle system in any RPG ever.
Greg?
I would say Fallout 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's. I mean, it seems ridiculous to say it in front of Colin, but like with him in the room, right? But I do like American history a lot. It was one of my favorite subjects in school.
Why is that weird?
No one else can
Because
like
you're like
American
Mr.
history.
It'd be like if somebody's in the room like, I really like Superboy Connell. I'd be like, what? That's my thing.
I love when I hear that people say.
So like being able to run around, DC, a place that I got to live for a summer and see all the stuff and the alternate history of all of it, and run into a robot that thinks he's Thomas Jefferson. Right? That was just awesome. That was so fun. That was really good.
That's what your choice is too?
No, well, since he picked it, will we allow turn-based strategy RPGs?
Of course.
Then Disgaea.
Yeah.
Disgaea, the first one?
Yeah, probably the first one.
That's a good choice. I know you love that series.
I love Final Fantasy Tactics, that style of game. Yeah.
Tactics is so good.
Yes.
Oh, it's so good. And Let Us Cling Together. That was probably the last great PSP game as well. You should go play that.
Tactics is really good. The class system in that game is ridiculous.
It's an extraordinary. If you can figure out how to use, like, what is it, the mathematician or whatever they, like.
Yeah.
There's, like, all these, or the dancer and, like, all of these, like, really deep, hard classes that probably no one used except for, like, 1% of the player base. But if you learn how to use them, they were ridiculous. And that's just that. I don't know. There's a game on GBA and a game on DS in the Final Fantasy Tactics series.
Yeah.
They're both good.
Yeah, I like them.
But they've never gone back.
Yeah.
Like, why won't they just make another? I keep saying, make Final Fantasy Tactics a platform. Keep releasing maps and quests and all these kinds of things. Charge for them.
Oh my goodness gracious!
Like you could, like I don't know, like that seems so obvious to me. Like
you would die.
like that, wouldn't that be awesome if you had a base Final Fantasy Tactics game, it cost $50. Mm-hmm. It just was supported with DLC for years and years and years.
I'll just keep playing. Yes.
New classes, new quests, level caps, all these kinds of things, hard modes. I mean, because you can go back and I'm sure you guys agree. Like when War of the Lions came out on PSP, which is just a port of the game and a kind of retranslation. I was like, this is a new game to me. I know everything that's going to happen, but this is like a new game because you can go about it in any way you want. And Square won't remake Final Fantasy VI, and that pisses me off. But like, what pisses me off more is that Tactics is just sitting there.
They just
and they just they don't want to do anything with it.
I also want to give a shout out to Suikoden. That would be a close number 2 for me.
Yeah, for sure. Whew. That's a lot of RPG talk.
That was good. It was real good.
Get a cigarette after all that.
You don't even smoke.
I know. That's all the scoops we have for you this week. Remember, you can always reach us at the email address gamescoop@ign.com. Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Justin. Thank you, Colin. My name is Damon. This is IGN Game Scoop, and we're out.